Welcome back to Thrive and Rise with Tiffany. Today's conversation is not easy, but it is empowering. Because if you've ever had to lead while carrying the weight of everything, if you've ever had to show up strong when life demanded everything from you, if you've ever felt like you had to work twice as hard just to be seen, heard, and respected, this episode is for you. We're talking about leadership, resilience, and rising through adversity, specifically the journey of navigating corporate America as a single mother and as an African American woman. This is about breaking barriers, building legacy, and leading with excellence, even when the odds are not in your favor. But here's what I need you to understand. Your circumstances may shape you, but they do not define your ceiling. Today, I am joined by the phenomenal Dr. Jeanne LoVette, a healthcare executive leader, U.S. Army veteran, executive coach, and a powerhouse who has helped others rise into C-suite leadership positions. From serving our country to transforming healthcare systems to mentoring the next generation of leaders, Dr. LoVette embodies what it means to lead with purpose, resilience, and impact. This is not just a conversation about success. This is a conversation about becoming. So if you're ready to rise through every obstacle, own your leadership, and walk boldly in your purpose, let's get into it.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship.
Call 877-588-0324. That's 877-588-0324. Again, 877-588-0324.
People ask all the time, who the heck is Low Cost Airlines? Well, we're not just one airline. When you're talking to us, you're talking to everyone. We are the discount supermarket for all airline tickets. Plus, we have all the airlines and always have the best prices. American, Delta, United, plus all the specialized international airlines and a lot more. And we make it easy. We guarantee you'll talk to a live human in 60 seconds. You can have the rates you need and have your trip booked in 5 minutes. Now, how cool is that? And remember, when you're talking to us, it's like talking to every single airline available with one fast phone call. All you need to do is call and find the best prices to fly wherever it is you want to go. So are you ready? Call Low Cost Airlines right now.
Call 855-662-0261. That's 855-662-0261. Again, 855-662-0261.
Hi, I'm the tax lady. Do you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS? Then listen carefully. You may be able to pay the IRS less and save thousands of dollars because right now there are special government tax programs for people like you who owe the IRS. We can even help you if you have unfiled tax returns. And if you qualify, you'll pay less money to the IRS or state. Stop worrying about wage garnishments and bank levies and call the number on the screen right now for a free tax review. We know what you're going through. We help good people like you every day pay the IRS or state less taxes all the time. If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, call now for your free, no-obligation consultation with a tax professional. Don't fight the IRS alone. Call the Tax Ladies team today.
Call the Tax Lady at 877-335-7471. Call now.
Dr. LoVette, can you take us back to the beginning? What shaped your journey into leadership?
Well, sure. Thank you. Thanks so much, Tiffany, for having me here today. Really appreciate it. And I appreciate the space that you hold so that we can come and share and help others. So back to the beginning. Wow, where to begin? So I have 4 children, 2 who are biological, and they are adults now. But just when my children were younger, separated from my husband at the time, and had not finished college. I noticed that, as I mentioned, when I came in, I saw your U of M stuff. I started at MSU and did not finish.
Go blue, go blue.
Green. And so joined the Army. And then when I came home, my husband and I started our life together and had children. Started daycare in my home. And then when we separated, I had to go into the workforce without a degree with these 2 kids that I'm, bringing up. My husband's involved in their lives, but rearing them in my household and then modeling for them what it was like to be successful. And so it was a challenging journey. One of the things I tried to find was a job that paid well, that had benefits so that I could support my kids and then go back to school and earn degrees, and just trying to figure out the direction that my life needed to go. And that was a challenge for me in the beginning. I didn't feel like I was lost, but when I was misaligned. And so just praying about that. I'm a person of faith. We're people of faith. Just praying about the direction that God would have me go, and then stepping into that, no matter how challenging it seemed. I remember talking to a counselor, and she said, well, you have 26 classes that you have to take to finish your bachelor's degree. And I remember telling someone that, and they're like, 26 credits? And I said, no, 26 classes.
Wow.
Yeah, and they were like, oh my gosh. So just navigating that journey and not stopping, and knowing that I felt like I couldn't stop.
Tell us, how did your experience as a single mother influence your leadership style?
That's a great question. I think in the beginning, I thought that as a leader, I needed to do everything myself because I felt like I was doing everything myself in my household. Again, my children's father is very involved in their lives, but in my household, I felt like I was doing everything. And so when I first stepped into leadership roles, instead of delegating successfully, I felt like I needed to do everything by myself in order to be considered successful. And it wasn't until later on down the line that I realized that delegating, empowering others to learn and grow was how you build a good team and how you lead well. So it took a minute, but I got there.
We know that the corporate ladder is not always an easy or friendly climb. It's very difficult. So tell us, what were some of your biggest obstacles climbing that ladder?
It certainly can be challenging. I think one of the biggest obstacles I felt externally would be just people assuming that I wasn't qualified for the roles that I'd been hired into, or that I couldn't do the work, or that as we are hearing so often, the DEI hire. And I saw something actually on TikTok just yesterday where the person said, okay, I'm going to embrace this DEI. It was a black woman. She goes, I'm going to embrace it. Damn excellent individual. Pardon me for swearing. But so people, assuming that you were only there to meet a quota. And then internally, like absorbing some of that and thinking, well, am I not qualified for this? I know I have the credentials and the experience, and I've done it multiple times, but, if they're thinking that, well, maybe some of that is true. And then reframing that talk, because that's obviously not correct. So the biggest obstacle, I think, was people assuming that you couldn't do the work, and so not offering you opportunities that you might see others getting.
So it sounds like imposter syndrome crept in.
A little bit, yes. And so then there comes, with me, it's what's the reframe, and that's my mantra for a lot of things. How do I reframe that and then reposition myself and remind myself that I am qualified. I'm not here to meet a quota. If anything, some of you are here to meet a quota, but that's another thing. And just, doing the work and showing up the way that I know how to show up in excellence and doing the excellent work that I do.
Well, and what you said is true about them being there to meet a quota, because DEI and even back to affirmative action actually benefited white women more than it did African Americans.
Right.
But again, that is another topic for another day.
Right.
How did you navigate spaces where you may have been underestimated or overlooked?
Sure, there have certainly been times when my work hasn't been recognized for me doing it first of all, or someone else giving credit for that work. And it's incumbent upon me to show up how I'm supposed to, and so deciding how I'm going to show up in those spaces. I'll give you an example. You've probably seen it. I'll say, Tiffany, I think that we should give everyone on the team blue notebooks and blue folders so that, we all are uniform in the work that we do. And, the conversation around the table is, okay, whatever, and we move on. And then Bob, who doesn't look like me, says, I think we should give everybody blue notebooks and pens so that it looks really uniform when we do that. Mm-hmm. And then everybody thinking it's a novel idea at that time. And so what I've learned, and what I tell a lot of my coaching clients, when you're in spaces like that, it's important, first of all, to have mentors and coaches and sponsors, because people can speak up for you, and especially in situations like that if you're not comfortable. And so having someone say, Bob, I love that when Tiffany said we should have blue notebooks and pencil and pens, I appreciate you supporting her idea. I'd love to hear you expand on that. Then there's an opportunity for your work to be recognized. And you're kind of putting that person on the spot, but sometimes it's needed. And then, if you are more confident in that space, saying, I'm so glad that you're championing the idea that I had. What are your thoughts on how we can really integrate that into the work that we're doing here? So just positioning myself, being confident enough to show up and knowing that my work speaks for itself, and if I have to speak on it, it's not because I'm the angry black woman or I'm the, I need to have recognition for it, but it's being confident in, this is what I do, this is what I've done, this is what I contribute, this is the value I add.
And it's so important for leaders to support their team members.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And then also, I talked recently with students at a high school in Detroit, and I spoke about the work that I do in advocacy, but how important self-advocacy is too. Mm-hmm. So the ability to advocate for yourself, which is not always easy in those spaces.
Right. And you have to balance that with humility too. You don't want to be you can be boastful, I guess, but there's nothing wrong with being proud of the work that you do and speaking about the work that you do. And if you have to be that self-advocate sometimes, well, you have to be that self-advocate sometimes. But then when you have a group of people who are supporting you, who are sponsoring you, who are mentoring you, who are coaching you, and they can speak up on your behalf too, all the better.
And it's like you said, it's how you go about it. Mm-hmm. So how would you self-advocate in that type of space?
Well, like that example I just mentioned, saying, "Hey, thanks for supporting the idea that I brought up just a few minutes ago." If you're, or if it's after the meeting, you're not comfortable necessarily speaking in front of them, sending an email and saying, "Thanks so much, Bob, for supporting the idea that I had. Here's what I've been thinking about that these past weeks or whatever." And then, Bob, what are your thoughts? Or others, what are your thoughts? And so, just creating the environment where people know that you are confident in stepping up and speaking for yourself, and people will begin to recognize it. And then sometimes they will actually say, I loved when Tiffany had that idea about the blue pens. Here's me championing it. Yeah,
absolutely. And one of the things that we talk about a lot too in leadership is that you don't have to have a title
Correct.
To have a leader.
Correct.
To be a leader.
Right.
You don't have to have a title to be a leader. So beyond titles, beyond positions, what does leadership mean to you?
Leadership to me means being able to impact or influence the way your organization is moving forward, say, for example. And even if you don't have a title, you can influence the way decisions are made, the way people are treated, the way meetings are run, any kind of thing. Even if you're not in a leadership seat, you can still lead. And that's actually something that I tell in my leadership trainings, is that you can, even if you don't advance ever to an executive or C-suite role, you can be the best leader of whatever it is you're in charge of that's going to positively impact your organization or your team, your group, whatever it is you're doing. And I think that so often we get caught up in the titles, and it can mar the way we build relationships with people, the way we move our organizations forward. I think that there's an opportunity there to kind of step back and realize that it's not about what your title is, it's what your positive impact is to whatever the mission may be.
Absolutely. And then speaking of missions, you also have Gulf War era experience.
I do.
So your Gulf War era experience, how does that help to shape your leadership?
Thank you for mentioning that. I am proud Army veteran and appreciate the experience that I had. And I did not, thankfully, have to go over to the Gulf War. I was stationed in Germany at the time. And I was actually, I'm dating myself, but in Germany when the wall came down, which was an amazing experience and very hope-giving for humanity to me. I think that the whole military experience shaped the way I lead, the way I work, in that it helped me to become very mission-focused, no matter what that mission is, but especially the mission of, in our, in case serving veterans or serving in the military. Just very mission-focused and goal-oriented, getting things done. And I think that's what helped get me through the 12 years of, as my mom says, the 12 years of slave, but the 12 years of education after coming home from the Army and getting my doctorate. So just very mission-focused.
What kept you going during moments when you felt like giving up would be easier?
Well, my kids. I have the best kids in the world. They're the most, they're just good people, and they kept me going. They make me a better person, and I appreciate that God let me be their mother. But my kids, there was not an option to give up. I have these darlings who I have to take care of, who are counting on me to make sure their world is all right as it can be. And so
I love that.
Yeah.
What challenges are unique to African American women in corporate leadership success?
Gosh, well, we talked about, just a few minutes ago, first of all, the people not thinking that you're qualified to do the job that you've been hired to do, that you don't have the experience, the expertise, the knowledge to do that. And then, of course, the tropes that come with being a black woman. If you say anything that's above a whisper, you're considered aggressive or angry.
How is that?
Well, it impacts you. You have to be cognizant of how you show up all of the time. It's even if you're passionate about something, not necessarily angry, tamping down those passions or that excitement about something because you'll be perceived a certain way, and so having to navigate perceptions all the time. I actually did a video on social media where I was talking about putting my hair in braids. And the first time I was going to wear my hair in braids into the corporate space, and I had a bit of trepidation about it. And I'm going to be perceived as whatever people think of when they see black women wearing their braids. And then I'm like, I don't care what they think. I'm wearing my hair in braids. And so it's really funny. I had a conversation about, I was talking with a group of ladies, peers who we formed a group on social media just to support one another, black women. And I said something about going to get my hair done in a weave, and she says, oh, putting on your corporate costume. And I said, yes, that's exactly it. But, I will interchange and I'll wear my braids now, but it's that, I feel like we're constantly having to manage perception, and it's challenging to be our authentic selves because we're constantly being judged on exterior things that have nothing to do with our character. Or, so it's always that.
How were you received when you did wear your braids?
Oh, I think your braids are darling. That's what I got. Which, whatever. It's great. It could have been opposite. Like in the military, for example, when I was in, braids weren't prevalent, and some of the ladies who wore their hair in braids were reprimanded and had to take their braids out. And now, of course, there's a whole different thing, and we have the acts, the laws that have come about so that we can wear our hair any way we want to, as everybody else gets to do. So
we're moving forward.
Yes, we are. The signs of progress.
Years ago, I was told when I ran for office with my braids, you should take your braids out. That would maybe affect my votes or my support. And I did not. I did not take my braids out. I wanted young ladies that look like me to see someone that looks like them
Yes.
to make it.
Yes.
And I did. I made it. So
I love it.
definitely understand those challenges, and I'm glad we are moving forward in our society where now it is a little more comfortable in
Right.
spaces
Right.
to wear our natural hair.
Right.
And we've been very vocal about it as Black women. How do you maintain your authenticity while navigating professional expectations
Sure.
beyond the hair? I mean, that is definitely an important component, though.
Right, sure. That's a good question. You know, we're responsible how we show up for anything, and I think just understanding who you are at the core and being comfortable with walking in that, and knowing that when you walk in that, sometimes if you are wearing your braids, you may not win the election, or you may not get the opportunity to promote, or whatever, but being comfortable with knowing who you are and what you bring to the table, the value add that you bring. And just understanding it's like situational leadership. If I am for the most part, a servant leader who is always doing things to ensure that my team is winning, which that's the kind of leader I am, but you're in a situation where it calls for an authoritative leader. Your team needs to execute with little information. They've just got to go because this is what you're saying we have to do. So in that situation, it calls for that kind of leadership. And in this situation, it calls for that. And so when I'm showing up, being myself and knowing situationally this is how I have to present as opposed to this time, is just, I think it's an awareness kind of thing. But knowing, being comfortable in walking in your own skin and not hiding that, not minimizing who you are, not code switching, as it were, to fit in, to assimilate. And that's, you know, that's sometimes part of my nonconformity journey. So
That is rough to do in corporate America, though.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
It can be, sure.
I think you still have to code switch to a degree.
Sure, you do. But again, that's the situational part.
Yeah, absolutely. Corporate America can be rough. My father worked for corporate America, and I remember the transition of when he could switch up from wearing suits every day to wearing khakis, and when he could switch up from not having a beard to having a goatee.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yes.
So I think that things are easier than they used to be,
Sure.
but definitely I think that even with the code switching, it's definitely something that just has to be done in those spaces.
Sure. I'm not going to go into, well, it depends on who's in the room, but I'm not going to go into the room and kiki like I would with my girlfriends or with my cousins. There's a certain mannerism that you have to have in those spaces that you wouldn't necessarily have at the family reunion. So,
what other strategies did you use to help you in those spaces to go from just surviving to thriving in those spaces? Because you are thriving now.
yes, thank you. Relationships, those are important to me. I think that having relationships in any space is important, and just building relationships with people and having that commonality and that common goal just helped me to understand that I belong here, wherever here is. I belong here. I'm part of a tribe. I'm part of a community. And so I think in any space, building relationships is key to thriving.
And I know you are able to reach back. How important is mentorship, the mentorship you received on your journey? How did that impact your journey?
Oh my gosh, that was so huge, 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 huge. This is why I do so many of the things that I do now. My parents were, my dad played every sport when he was in high school and college, and then coached everything, and then served as, my brother's Cub Scout leader and stuff. And my mom worked in the community and in our churches. And so we're always pouring into people. And so seeing that modeled from my parents, and then going into the corporate space, mentorship is why I was able to take advantage of the opportunities that I had. And part of the reason that I do the work that I do is because I didn't see people who looked like me. I didn't see people that I thought I had access to who looked like me to tell me, do this, don't do that, show up this way. code switch today, don't code switch tomorrow. You know what I mean? All the things that you need to be successful in those spaces. And so I'm like, okay, well, how can I do this? How can I, and I work with everybody, but how can I help people who look like me understand those nuances that are going to help get them to the next level? And so I love that space. That's my jam.
And then you begin helping to place leaders into C-suite roles. What separates those who rise from those who stay stagnant?
Wow, that's a good question. I think the ones who rise and are successful are the ones who see people still at the core of it and aren't just chasing the next rung on the ladder. The ones who value people who are part of their teams, who've helped them get to where they're going, and then the people who are above them who they can also serve. I think when people focus only on the goal of achieving, of getting to the top, and they forget the people part of it, the humanitarian part of it, that's where I see struggles. I mean, some of those people are very successful monetarily, materially, anyway, but they don't have the relationships that make life as fulfilling as it could be, in my opinion, of course, but yeah.
And you mentioned situational leaders, and you know I have a book series called the Know Thyself book series.
I just started that.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
And one of the, and I appreciate that. One of the books is Virtues of Leadership, and so we talk about situational leaders. We talk about different kind of leaders. One of the most powerful leaders is a transformational leader. So what are the key qualities of a transformational leader?
I think that's great, and you're right. Transformational leadership is how you impact the global good, right, of an organization. I think one of the most important parts of transformational leadership to me, again, is people at the center of it, and being able to tap into people's strengths, their gifts, and recognizing how, as a collective, we can be more successful than individually. And of course there are individual successes, but I think, say, transforming an organization, you can't move an organization forward by yourself. It takes everybody from the housekeeping staff to the people who are running the meetings to the people who are making the decisions. It takes everybody. And I think transformational leaders who are those who can gain that buy-in and let people see how they impact that greater good. It's like that NASA story where they were asking people who worked there, and they asked a janitor, you know, what's your goal? What are you doing here? And he says, I'm putting a man on the moon. Well, absolutely you are, because if we don't have clean spaces, we can't do the work that we need to do to calculate to make sure we get him to the moon safely and back home again. And so being able to I think people are at the core of it to me, is how do you pour into, how do you help people recognize their value, and not just in what they do, but just because they are, and their contributions to the greater good.
And buy-in.
Yes,
because I talk about change management a lot as a leader.
Yes.
And buy-in takes time.
It does.
That is not something that happens overnight. You can have the best idea ever.
Yes.
And I know, because as a young leader, I made mistakes when it came to change management.
Haven't we all?
But with change management and buy-in, it can take months. It can, and it depends internally with an organization. It could take months. If you are doing it in the community, it could take a year. So how do you convince people to how do you work on the buy-in?
Right. I think it's that. It's letting people see how they contribute to the greater good, and recognizing them not just for their contributions, but again, because they are, because you're a human being and you are valued. You're loved, you belong, you have purpose. That's one of our mantras of our church. And that's what, to me, what it is showing people how their contributions are going to impact the amazing things that we're going to do here. And you're right, it can take sometimes more than months or a year. It can take years.
It can.
And especially if you're in an organization where the people have been, where morale is low, and people don't feel like they're valued, like anybody cares about them. You can go in and try to build those relationships. You can go in and try to help them see the value that they bring and how important they are to the mission. But building that trust, gaining that buy-in, it can be challenging. You have some early adopters, like you said, with change management. You have those early adopters. You've got the people in the middle who are going to come along once they see the successes, and then you got the others, the naysayers, are like, this is just another flavor of the month. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And that that is a struggle for me. It's disheartening because I think, what has happened to you where you think that you can't contribute to, and what you bring isn't valued?
Yes, yes. And you've built a lot of leaders. You've developed a lot of C-suite leaders. How many leaders have you developed?
Oh,
would you say?
Dang numbers. I would say dozens. I've helped get into, and I wouldn't say built, because they have already had the sauce that's going to help them get to the seats that they want. I've just helped them identify their strengths and then some areas of challenge, and then strengthen those and move up through the ranks. So dozens. I would say dozens.
And then those that have lacked confidence, how do you help them to build their confidence, or confidence in specific areas?
Yeah, sure. So that's a great one, especially with women, and especially with the Black women that I've coached. I have seen where we minimize so much of what we do. We talked about it earlier about how we move mountains, and yet we minimize it, like, oh, doesn't everybody do that? Well, no, everybody doesn't. And so as a thinking partner, as a coach, my role is to help you see, where you are at the core, to help you see where you are, to help you move forward without losing yourself in that, and to recognize those wins as you're going along the way. And I think that's the key, is helping people recognize their wins. And it's astonishing when some of my clients have had those epiphany moments. They're like, oh my gosh, that is a big deal. That is a win. I did do that. Yes, ma'am, you did. And so recognizing that and then stacking those, it's just like habits, like with Atomic Habits or whatever, habit stacker you use. It's stacking those wins and recognizing them and going back sometimes when you feel like, oh man, I can't do anything further. Well, go back and look at your wins. You done it. So how do you keep moving forward?
And it is hard to always stop and recognize. It's hard for me as well to stop and recognize that was a big win, and we do need to celebrate those moments.
Yes.
What role does continued learning play in long-term success?
For me, or just
in general for a leader?
Oh,
continuous learning is big. For instance, I have several degrees. I have an MBA, but I'm always researching, reading, going to the next level. Some people attach a lot of certificates to those degrees.
Yes.
Long-term success means that you're keeping up with the newest innovations. And what else?
Yes, trends. Yes, I think, one saying that I have is, if you stagnate, you die. If you sit still, then you proverbially die. I think that lifelong learning should be a goal of everyone, but then especially of leaders. You're leading people and organizations. How are you ensuring that you're staying abreast of the latest trends, that you're delivering the best care and services, whatever your venue is, that you're doing that? And so staying current with what's going on and continuing to upskill yourself. And importantly, you're trying to move the organization forward, upskilling your people. How are you ensuring that your people are getting the skills to help move your organization forward? People want to stay where they feel invested in.
Yes.
And so how do you do that for yourself as well as your people?
Yes. I think a lot of people get a degree or reach a certain level and then they stop there.
Right.
Where it is, you have to continually pour into yourself.
Yes.
So you can continue to go up to the next level.
Right. And it doesn't have to be formal learning either. It can be.
It doesn't.
Yeah, it can be something as easy to access as a podcast. I've learned a lot just binge watching your podcast over this past week. I have. It's enlightening, and just ensuring that you're continuing to grow. I think that's a general contribution to the greater good anyway.
Yes. Personal and professional development does not stop when you graduate from high school or whatever you graduate from.
Right.
It's continuous.
Right.
And I think as long as we are breathing and in our right minds, I don't care if you're 60, 70, 80 years old, there's something more that you can learn.
Yep, absolutely. I love that.
As we continue our journey of growth and leadership, let's take a moment to hear from our sponsors who make this podcast possible. After this brief message, we will be right back with more insight, more inspiration, and more strategies to help you rise. Stay with us.
People ask all the time, who the heck is Low Cost Airlines? Well, we're not just one airline. When you're talking to us, you're talking to everyone. We are the discount supermarket for all airline tickets. Plus, we have all the airlines and always have the best prices. American, Delta, United, plus all the specialized international airlines, and a lot more. And we make it easy. We guarantee you'll talk to a live human in 60 seconds. You can have the rates you need and have your trip booked in 5 minutes. Now, how cool is that? And remember, when you're talking to us, it's like talking to every single airline available with one fast phone call. All you need to do is call and find the best prices to fly wherever it is you want to go. So are you ready? Call Low Cost Airlines right now.
Call 855-662-0261. That's 855-662-0261. Again, 855-662-0261.
Hi, I'm the tax lady. Do you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS? Then listen carefully. You may be able to pay the IRS less and save thousands of dollars because right now there are special government tax programs for people like you who owe the IRS. We can even help you if you have unfiled tax returns. And if you qualify, you'll pay less money to the IRS or state. Stop worrying about wage garnishments and bank levies and call the number on the screen right now for a free tax review. We know what you're going through. We help good people like you every day pay the IRS or state less taxes all the time. If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, call now for your free, no-obligation consultation with a tax professional. Don't fight the IRS alone. Call the Tax Ladies team today.
Call the tax lady at 877-335-7471. Call now.
Are you ready to rise above the noise, reclaim your power, and walk boldly in your purpose? This is Thrive and Rise with Tiffany, the podcast that's more than just talk. It's a movement.
Every setback is a setup for a greater comeback, and I'm here to walk with you through every chapter.
Join Tiffany Tilley, visionary, author, advocate, and overcomer as she sits down with dynamic leaders, everyday heroes, and purpose-driven changemakers who are thriving against the odds, with real conversations on healing, growth, and faith, to bold strategies for leadership, legacy, and impact. This is your space to be inspired, empowered, and equipped. Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, or any major podcast platform. And remember,
Come for the inspiration, stay for the community. Keep thriving with Tiffany. Welcome back, everyone. Let's continue this powerful conversation. So let's get into motherhood.
Okay.
How did you balance motherhood, career advancement, and personal growth?
I did not. I was pretty driven. That's a good question. Balanced. Gosh, that's something, isn't it? How do you do that? I tried to schedule as much as I possibly can, to make sure that I had time with my kids. My kids were involved in lots of sports. So my son played basketball and soccer. My daughter swam, played volleyball and soccer. And then, of course, school, and then activities at church. So we were constantly busy. And then, of course, my school, and then work. So I don't think that I balanced it as well as I could have, and that's just me beating myself up. But I tried to schedule time with my kids. When they were sleeping, then that was study time. When they were, practicing, that was study time. One of my girlfriends calls me a helicopter parent. She would say, do you want to go get lunch? And I would say, she goes, I know you got to watch the kids eat their Oreos first. That's her joke, because I was always involved with my kids' stuff. I feel like...
Now, why do we do that? Stop right there. You just said you were always involved in your kids' stuff.
Right.
But you beat yourself up
Yes.
for not being there.
Mm-hmm. I know. It's a thing. I'm working through it. Look, I have to be coached too. I do, because as a mom, I feel like you want your kids to know that they have your support and they have your I don't want to say undivided attention, but they have you there when they need you, and even sometimes when they don't. And I think my kids know that. But when I compare myself to like what my mom did, she worked part-time at the time we were growing up, but she baked homemade bread and she did all of these things, and I'm like, and she had, my parents we had a garden, a huge garden, and I'm like, I didn't do all of that stuff with my kids. Am I a bad mom? I'm not a bad mom. I know I'm not. No. But I didn't give them all the experiences that I think that they should have.
And it's sad that we have to feel like in 2026
yes.
that we are or we were bad mothers
right.
because we weren't necessarily traditional mothers
right.
when it's not traditional times anymore.
Yeah.
And so things, just because you put energy and focus into other areas of your life,
mm-hmm.
including yourself,
mm-hmm.
doesn't make you a bad parent.
Right.
And I need other people to know that
yes.
who are watching as well.
Right.
That you can go to work, you can be
mm-hmm.
successful,
mm-hmm.
you can pour into yourself
mm-hmm.
and your dreams
yep.
and still support your children
yes.
and pour into their dreams.
Yes. What's really funny that you say that too is my kids actually said that to me. They're like, Mom, you need to do some, when they were younger, you need to do some stuff for yourself. What does that look like? I am your mother. That is my identity. But, so processing through that and realizing that, yes, I can have a career. I can have outside interests. I can still support my kids and be there for them
and
like they need.
And don't feel guilty
right,
about
and not
it.
feel guilty about it. Exactly. So you can do it, but you have to be conscious of that and recognize that it's okay for you to have these things as a human being, as a whole
yes.
person.
Yes.
So, yeah. So thank you for, yes, that is absolutely.
Absolutely. And I think it's important you did something that I did with my children too. You have to make sure that they're active.
Oh, yes.
That they have active lives.
Yes.
It doesn't start at 20.
Oh, no.
It starts at 8. It
right.
starts at 10
yes.
when you're making sure that they're in
mm-hmm.
plenty of after school activities mm-hmm. and summer activities
yep.
that help their growth.
Right.
So,
right. Yes.
and it helps to expand their worldview. So kudos to you,
yes.
Mom.
Oh, thank you. Back at you.
Thank
you.
Yes.
Thank you.
So what sacrifices, I know that was a sacrifice of your time. What other sacrifices did you have to make, and were they worth it?
Gosh, when you say time, that was the biggest one. I think, that's one thing that we can never get back.
Yeah.
Was it worth it to not have time with my children while I'm pursuing my career and my aspirations there? It was worth it in that it helped fulfill something in me for myself, and I am a human being, and I'm allowed to have these wants and desires mm-hmm. and to go after my dreams too. Would I have changed something? Yes, I would have finished college when I first went instead of being a knucklehead and wasting all my parents' money. Instead of having to go back when my kids were growing up.
How old are your children now?
They're adults. They're if I tell on camera, they'll be. They're in their late 20s.
And how are they doing?
They're excellent. They're the best people I know.
So you did an amazing job.
Well, I attribute that to God, but thank you.
Yes. with your work and with God's hands,
yes,
they are.
Yes. Yes.
Doing phenomenally.
Yes.
So
yes.
it
yeah.
definitely
Thank
is
you.
worth it. And you are helping to increase the leadership skills in others and
yes.
help them to get to the next level as well.
Yes.
So you're paying it forward as well.
Oh, yes,
so
absolutely.
Big
Each
time.
one reached 30.
So,
yes, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
How do you define success now compared to early in your career?
Oh, that's great. Yes. Success then, I would have said, is achieving a role, a specific role in an organization. And now I think that those things are important if that's what you want to go for. But I think relationships. I think having relationships with people and helping people, being able to pour into people and help them reach their goals and their dreams. And that's part of that's the work that I do in the leadership space, especially. Just talking with people, meeting with them, and getting to the root of what it is they want to do, and then helping them realize those things. And I don't know. There's hardly anything better. I think when I'm in a coaching call and one of my clients has an epiphany moment, you know, sometimes we're on Zoom, but sometimes cameras are off, and so I just get to cheer and, you know, do whatever I'm doing behind the cameras because I want to see people win. That's, you know, modeled from my parents. We want to see people, I want to see people win. And if I can be a part of your winning journey, I can be a part of your journey. And that's just...
That's big. And you know, unfortunately, we have what we call a crabs in a barrel mentality in our community. And people don't know how empowering it is to help others win.
Oh my gosh.
It's such a good feeling.
It is.
And seeing people excel and people reach their dreams, that's powerful.
Extremely.
Yes.
Extremely.
It is. It's such a good feeling. What advice would you give to single mothers that are trying to build their careers and legacy simultaneously?
Keep going. You got this. You do. Where's your community? Tap into your community. That's why we're here.
Yes.
And keep going. You got it. You've got what it takes right now.
What does legacy mean to you? And how are you working on your legacy?
Legacy means to me being able to know that I have helped people win. I think of, like I told you, my dad coached for forever. And when he passed away a couple of years ago, which is terrible, but when I remember taking him out, when we would go out shopping and we would run into people in the community, and every single time we went out, I wouldn't say every, but almost every single time we went out, somebody would say, "Coach, oh my gosh, thank you so much for what you did. You know, my grandchild is running because you coached us in track," or "We're playing football because, you know, you're coaching in that." I was at a high school reunion, and a classmate of mine, when I said something about my dad, I don't know if I said his name, he goes, "That's your dad?" And I'm like, "We have the same name. You've known me for 30 years. And he goes, "Oh my gosh, he was my favorite coach ever." And this man played, you know, college sports or whatever. So I want to have that kind of legacy where people know that I want them to win and that I've been able to pour into them and help them on their journey. And so that kind of legacy of just being that person who's contributing to everybody's greater good and helping to see people win. Because when one person wins, I think we can all win.
Yes, we all win.
Yes.
Absolutely. So now we are going to go into our rapid fire questions.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you or call off 2 different words. You're going to tell me which one of those you choose.
Okay.
And you don't have to go into a long, drawn-out explanation. You're just going to tell me which one. I'll give you room for a little explanation if you need it.
Okay.
So let's get into the rapid fire round.
All right. Ready for this.
Leadership or influence?
Wow. Influence.
Discipline or motivation?
Oh, motivation.
Faith or strategy?
Faith.
Corporate or entrepreneurship?
Entrepreneurship.
Mentorship or self-learning?
Gosh, there's not a both and. Mentorship.
Power or purpose?
Purpose.
Boardroom or community impact?
Community impact.
Confidence or competence?
Gee. That's a tough one. Competence.
Structure or flexibility?
I am a former Army girl, so structure but flexibility.
Which one is more important?
Oh gosh, man. Is this timed?
Yeah.
Flexibility.
Legacy or lifestyle?
Oh, legacy.
Silence or speaking up?
Speaking up.
Risk or security?
Risk.
Excellence or perfection?
Excellence.
Representation or results?
Representation.
Balance or sacrifice?
Balance.
Pressure or privilege?
Oh, interpretation. Pressure, I guess.
Growth or comfort?
Oh, growth.
Fear or faith?
Faith.
Rest or grind?
Oh, out of the grind phase, rest.
And complete this sentence for us. Leadership is...
That's a good one. Leadership is helping people see who they are to help them move forward.
I love it. Thank you. You did a great job.
Oh, thank you. I win the prize.
You win the prize. And thank you all for joining us on this episode of Thrive and Rise with Tiffany. If today's conversation reminded you that your obstacles are not your ending, they are your training ground, then you're already on your way to rising. To continue your journey of growth, leadership, and self-discovery, explore the Know Thyself book series designed to help you build self-awareness, resilience, and purpose-driven leadership. Amen. If this episode moved you, drop a bicep in the comments and tell us, what obstacle did you overcome that made you stronger? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because stories like this don't just inspire, they transform. Stay connected, stay focused, and as always, keep thriving with Tiffany.
How'd it happen?
She showed up dead on arrival.
This never gets easier.
It does when you call CarShield before your car breaks down. Look at these prices. The camshaft, transmission, engine.
Don't people know? A plan through CarShield could protect up to 5,000 parts and systems.
Yay to see it.
An out-of-warranty car is gonna break down eventually.
Right, which is why they need a plan through CarShield.
Best of all, you'll get access to CarShield's concierge service, who can even help you find a mechanic near you.
They're notifying the family.
Poor guy, he doesn't even know what's coming.
Another victim of senselessly expensive repair bills. Can't save them all.
But we can keep trying. Didn't have to end this way. If he'd have just called CarShield before his car broke down.
Exactly.
CarShield has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau and was voted America's most trusted auto protection company. It's time to call CarShield now. Call 800-636-1039.